Hello, we are live. Hello, everyone joining in from YouTube, Facebook. Today we are making a stir fry so quick. I just realized I don't have my rice. So that's a really good way to start. Hang tight, stay there, chat in the comments, tell me what you're doing. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, everyone. I always had all my veggies out ready for this recipe, and then I realized I don't even have the rice. And it's kind of the key ingredient. So hang tight. I'm just washing up the zook. How are you guys doing? Are you making anything there? Do you have your tea? Hi, Debbie. Yes, happy Tuesday to you. So, guys, I'm very unscheduled with my tea times. And the reason being, one reason is I find our family is all over the place with schedules and back and forth and in and out. And it varies every week. And so for me to set a time every week, that works really well to go live. It doesn't always work really well to go live. And then the other thing is that I like to really feel inspired in the moment in what I'm going to prepare. And today I knew I was making this for dinner. And so I just felt like this was the natural time to share it, right? It just feels very spur of the moment, real life kind of cooking. And that's what I want to bring. And so that's the other reason. But I did post this on Facebook and events and on my newsletter. So hopefully a lot of you will join in. And if not, then I will send out the link later. Hi, Terry. Thank you so much. I'm glad you love my recipes. That's so sweet. So I have my tea. Do you guys have a tea? Cheers to a happy, healthy 2022. It's so weird to say that. Cheers. And I've got some of my chocolate. You know what I've got, right? You know, these are midday squares, but seriously, I prefer the mid-morning. These are always what I have in my purse when I'm out and about and making, like running errands. I always have this in my purse. Yeah, if I were to be searched, I hope not, you'd find these. And this is my favorite flavor right now, the one with the crunchy bits. I really like it. Hi, Bev and Kathy. Hello. Australia. Hey, Bev. What time is it there? I'm just curious because it's 1:00 p.m. my time. Hey, Lynn. Oh, so nice to see you. Have to chew this up. And Lynn just said she made the sweet and sour lentils from the book. So Dreena's Kind of Kitchen. This recipe is really, really easy. And I don't know if I have it to flip to it so quickly. Oh, there it is. Sweet and sour lentils. One of those dishes you can throw together in like a half hour so fast. And Lynn helped me out. I mentioned you on the last video, Lynn, when I released Simply Plants ebook. And I first released it to my newsletter at a really discounted rate because I knew I'd want to make some edits, just like grammar and some small things. And Lynn, bless her heart, just emailed with some grammar corrections for me, which was so beautiful, totally unexpected. And thank you, Lynn, for doing that. I'm going to get you the new copy. I'm going to send that your way. And Lauren's having Moroccan mint tea. That sounds good. 8 a.m. Okay, cool. 8 a.m. Well, nice to have you. I'm going to show you one other chocolate treat before I continue with this recipe, though, because I mentioned I've been working on these pecan turtles. I said pecans, but they do have pecans. You know, the chocolate turtle confection. I still love those so much when I was younger. Like, oh my gosh, I love those. And I've created a version with a date caramel, and it's still covered in chocolate, so you're not getting away from like the refined processed component of chocolate. But I guess you could technically make them without the chocolate, and you can get some really, really good quality chocolates that are minimally processed, even like raw chocolate. So, but I just want to show them to you. Let me get a good picture. Got a little bit of, see that? Ooh. And there's a little sprinkle of sea salt on the top. So the family has been loving these. Let's get another one where you can see the pecans really nicely. See, I've got some pecans in there. Yeah, the family's loving these. Bridget especially. Bridget's our 17-year-old, and she's just like, oh my gosh, Mom, these are so good. So I'm going to get these on the blog for Valentine's. Anyhow, I dressed up today. And I think it's because it's now pissing rain out there again, as we often get here on the west coast. But honestly, I prefer to the weather we had over Christmas, which was a lot of snow. And I grew up in Newfoundland, and I seriously feel I have my lifetime of snow in Newfoundland. I don't enjoy it at all. It was really pretty for Christmas, to see it on the trees. But after that, I was like, get it out of here. It's so it's so sludgy and messy and everything. But also, we all got COVID over Christmas, and we were all crummy feeling. And so no one's going anywhere or do anything special. I was like, I'm going to dress up for tea time. Why not? Put on a little dress, feel good. I either dress up for groceries to get groceries, or I dress up for tea time. So you guys get it today. Anyhow, let's get to this recipe. Okay, so this is based on my quinoa lentil stir fry from Dreena's Kind Kitchen, except I'm not using lentils in this tonight because I just want to show you that this is really this recipe is like a template. Like, you can do anything with once you have some ingredients in the fridge ready. And the key to this is having rice already batch cooked, which I always have on hand. There's certain items that during the week I do big batches of, and rice is one of them. Quinoa is another. I bake a lot of sweet potatoes in big amounts, and I also bake a lot of just standard potatoes in big amounts, either red or yellow or the little baby nugget potatoes. And then when I make something like chickpeas or hummus, I do those in larger quantities too. So the key is really getting rice cooked in a big batch. And it's so easy, right? I mean, and I don't know, people seem to struggle with cooking rice, and I feel like it's a really simple grain to cook. And I've never wanted to use a rice cooker. What do you guys use rice cookers? I remember using one years ago. I actually find, and I don't use my Instant Pot for rice. I find the best cooking method for rice is stovetop. And I've always used it. For brown rice or short grain brown rice, it's usually about 35 minutes. So you bring the water to a boil with the rice. You add the rice, rinse the rice, add the rice with 2 parts water, 1 part rice. So like 1 cup rice, 2 cups water. So normally I'll do like 3 to 4 cups rice, and then 6 to 8 cups water. Do it in a big pot, bring it to a boil, reduce the heat, cover. Usually the sweet spot's about 35 minutes, depending on the type of rice. You have to look, because some rices cook quicker. Like, my kids love jasmine rice, and sometimes I'll do a blend of brown rice with jasmine rice, which I will explain to you how I do that. And jasmine rice cooks in, it says 20 minutes, but for me, I always find it cooks like about 15 minutes, and then I'll just like to let it stand. And there's other grain types of rice, like black rice and red rice. Red rice cooks in about 20 minutes as well. So some of these more like exotic grains or varieties of rice. And I usually find them under the brand Lotus Foods. I think it's Lotus Foods. Someone can maybe confirm that. I don't have a package in my cupboard right now to show you. But there's like a black rice and a red rice. They're really delicious too. They have a more earthy flavor, like just a little more flavor than, say, a standard white or even brown rice. But they cook quicker. So it depends on the variety. But in general, if you're using, say, brown rice, brown basmati, short grain or long grain brown rice, you're about 35 minutes. And then turn off the heat and let it stand on the heat for about another 5 minutes. And then usually you open up the top of the lid of the pot, and you see all these like see almost like these little divots in the rice, like little moisture holes, just naturally usually kind of form. I don't know why that is, but it's kind of cool. And the rice usually is perfectly cooked. I've never had an issue with it. So that's my quick rice tip. And in this recipe, I use quinoa and lentils and veggies, but really it's a template. You can use any grain you want for this. Just have it cooked and ready to use, like cooled in the fridge. I just ran out to get the rice. So you can see I've got a big batch of rice here. I'm not going to use all of that. And this, I was going to explain how to blend the rice. So this is a mixture of brown rice and jasmine. I need a sip of tea. I've just been like this. Hang on, talk amongst yourselves. Okay. When the kids love jasmine rice, and it's more refined, right? I don't have a problem with the kids eating jasmine rice. I don't have a problem eating jasmine rice myself. It's a plant food, and sometimes, we cook a lot of whole foods, lots and lots of fiber, and having that little bit that isn't fully like whole grain is okay. But what I also do is blend them, and that way I can get some whole grain in the whole mix of rice, and they can really taste the jasmine rice, and it works out really nicely. So what I do for that is I measure, say, 2 cups of brown rice, and then do the water ratio to that, which would be like 4 cups, bring it to a boil, and then I cook it part way to about 20-25 minutes. And then I add in the jasmine, like a cup or a cup and a half or 2 cups or whatever, again with the water, and bring it all to a boil again, stir it through, and then cover. So that way you're cooking the brown rice the extra like 20 minutes it needs, 25 minutes, and then you add in the jasmine. So that's a little tip for you there. And you could use that for other grains too. Like if you want to combine, say, quinoa and millet maybe, or I've been loving farro. So if you wanted to include farro and farro is a whole grain with rice, you could do that. All right, I've already talked a lot, so I'm going to get chopping and get to the recipe. So I have the rice, the grain. It's a combo of brown rice and jasmine rice. And the veggies I'm using today, so I tend to use very basic, simple veggies we always have on hand. Celery, green onions, which I don't always have on hand, but I'll give you a sub. Carrot, zucchini, and then I like to add in something for color. So I'll show you what I'm doing with that today. For extra color, I should say. So sometimes I don't have green onions on hand. And if I don't, what I do is I use these, like, the dehydrated onion that you buy in the spice section, the dry onion, like so, right? And I'm actually going to just throw that into the pot now, since I have it in my hand. And what I do is, as I'm sauteing the first few ingredients, the celery, the carrot, those hard veggies, I'm adding water, and I just let it saute with that. And that way it plumps up as it's cooking with the water. The onion absorbs that moisture, and it's flavoring the mix as well. So that's a little tip for you if you don't have green onions. And I do want to talk about the pan, because I have been using Scan Pan for a long time, and I've been recommending it for a long time. But like any pan, over time, it just began to wear down. The surface wore down, and the kids started cooking things on it. I think a couple of times they used coconut oil, and then I think something happens to the coating then, or the finish, and everything was sticking to it. So it was useless for oil-free cooking for me. So I bought this pan, and I want to show it to you. Where's the top? And it's widely available. I bought it at a grocery store, and it's one of the big grocery stores. I just don't want to mention it because I'm not happy with them. I don't want to promote them, but it's on Amazon, and you'll usually find it at other stores like, department stores, Walmart, whatever. And it's called, I think it's Blue Diamond. I put the link in the description, but I think it is Blue Diamond, because here's the lid, and it has this diamond on it. And why I love this pan, 2 reasons. It is non-toxic, non-stick. Two, look at how big and deep that is. So for me, feeding the family and doing like a stir fry or anything else, this is perfect. Even my scan pan was not as big as this. So it has great depth, volume, and this nonstick surface has been awesome. And it's a lot more affordable too. So, you know, everyone has their own preference, and we'll see how this one lasts compared to my scan pan. But it's about $40, which is a really good price for this big pan. So like I said, the link is there if you want to check it out, but you can find it in stores as well. So I'm going to add a touch of water to the pan, and then just, normally I'm at the stove doing this, right? But I have to improvise. So I'm going to get the heat on right now. I'm getting the heat on high with the onion, and I'm adding a couple pinches of salt. And add a little more water. And then I'm going to start adding veggies, okay? So I see you guys have some comments, and if I don't get them to them today because I don't want the video to go too long, then I will answer after. And if you're on YouTube, please comment after the video, like add your question or comment after the video, because I don't see the flow of comments. I don't know why. It's something I don't understand in YouTube. I don't see I see it live, but after I don't see those reader comments that are in the chat on YouTube. So please add them after. So here's some carrot. That was one medium carrot. Again, I'm not measuring because I want to show you how, you look at that recipe, get the idea of what I'm doing, even make it as is, if, for the first time if you want, and see how you like it. And then you get an idea for the method, the proportions, and you can make meals without it being super, super intensive in time or in preparation, or even, thinking, do I have the right veggies? Because really you can use other things here. So for instance, if you don't want to use celery or carrots, I just think they're a real nice base for the veggie stir fry. And we don't eat a lot of raw celery, for instance. I don't know. I don't think people do eat a lot of raw celery. To me, it's not the most, exciting raw veggie. And so having it in the stir fry is a nice way to get it in the diet, and it softens the flavor. But for instance, let's say you don't want to use celery. You could use any harder chopped vegetable here. So, excuse me, you could go with, and carrot is even harder than celery, but you could use onion, you could use, I'm just thinking perhaps you could use kohlrabi. I don't use it much. In fact, I rarely use it. You could use chopped fennel, chopped winter squash, chopped sweet potato is very sticky in the stir fry, but you can, what I would do with sweet potato if I want to add it is have it pre-cooked in cubes and then just warm it through at the end rather than cook it, because it is really sticky. And here's the green onions. So with the green onions, I add them in two stages. I add the bottom portion first because the bottom portion is stronger tasting, more like a white onion. And I like to get that cooked down a little bit first. So I'm going to add that first. But onion is really, I feel like it's very key in a rice stir fry. It really needs onion to me. Like, you can skip the garlic, I think, but the green onion or any kind of onion is really good in there. And I'm adding that. So I have that on high heat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let that steam slightly so I don't have to keep adding water, but you could keep it at a high heat and try to brown it and keep adding water or vegetable broth. But I'm not fussing too much today. I'm just going to put the lid on it, and cover it, turn it down to low so that the carrots can soften as I continue to chop the veggies, because the carrots take longer than some of the other veg I'm going to add in here. I'm also going to use some zucchini today because I love zucchini. It's like the friendly vegetable. Most people are happy with the zucchini in a dish. Most people don't have a strong preference. Like, I really hate zucchini versus broccoli or Brussels sprouts or radishes or even carrots for that matter. I just love them. They're just great. So I'm gonna add some zucchini. I'm gonna chop that one now. And I still have the tops of the green onions to add. I'm just letting that cook back there. Oh, I didn't add any pepper, and I do want to add some. So I'm just gonna pop back here and do that. Yeah, it's doing fine. I'm actually gonna turn up the heat a little bit more. It's a different burner than I usually use. And you know, if you have a gas stove, the burners are quite specific in their intensity. Okay, and then I've got some zucchini. And we're just letting that cook for maybe about 4 or 5 minutes to work down the carrot, let it soften, because in a stir fry like this, generally you want the carrot to be a little softer. You don't want it too hard. And then I'm going to add this. By the way, I added the link to this cutting board in the show notes and in the description on Facebook as well, because I have had this cutting board for about 10 years. And it is the best cutting board that I've ever had. And I'll tell you why. I've put it in a few blog posts for like gift guides, and people don't seem to know about it. And it's seriously the best. Okay, I'll tell you why in a second here. I'm adding that zucchini. And I'm just going to remove the cover now and let it continue to cook down. So this one is, the brand name is Epicurean, and it's made from... They somehow repurpose materials. It's some kind of wood pulp or paper pulp. I'm not sure, but it is non-toxic and environmental, and you know all those things you want to look for when you're buying products for your kitchen and your home. But I tell you, this one does not hold odors, and I throw it in the dishwasher, and it always comes out. You know, I've had it for about 10 years. Look. Okay, and it's a nice size. I really like the size. I've actually bought a bigger one because I was loving it so much. And the bigger one is like this. But the small one is so handy that this is the one I turn to all the time. And it's light. Pop it in the dishwasher. You can do onions on it one day, and the next day you can do pineapple and it won't transfer. So I love this cutting board. I wish I could work with the company, but I don't know. I don't know if I just haven't connected with them. But anyhow, there's a link there so you can check it out. And they're not too expensive either. And you know, there's lots of chopping blocks you find in stores and bamboo ones and everything else. And this one it's spot on. I love it. Okay, so I have the zucchini in there, and I'm just going to give that another stir. That needs to cook a little bit more. I'm turning up the heat a tiny bit as I do that because I'm not adding the rice right away. And why that is because I want to cook the vegetables enough first. And if I'm adding the rice, it slows down the cooking of the vegetables and it gets really sticky in the pan. So I just want to warm the rice through. And I'm going to warm the rice through at the end with the green onions, the tops of the green onions. Okay, so it's cooking the veg, sauteing it down, getting it just tender enough that, you know, it's not like raw, and then adding the rice and the green onions. And I'm also going to add some red cabbage. I think it's called red cabbage, right? Not purple, but it is purple. Why do we do that? I don't know. It's like, there's another one that's like that. I think it's, no, not red grapes. But anyways, it's definitely not red to me. It's very purple. And I don't like to cook the cabbage too much because even though it's a hard vegetable, the color goes right through the rice. And so what I do instead is I chop it really fine, like little ribbons of the cabbage. And that way it adds some color and it's not too strong tasting because it'll warm through, but it's not big chunks of cabbage. I have hated cabbage most of my life. And I think it's because growing up, cabbage was always boiled for what we call Jig's dinner, which was basically a boiled vegetable dinner with boiled salt meat. Ugh, I hated it so much. I hated the salt meat. Like you buy these pails of salted beef, ugh, and then it was boiled up with the veg, and cabbage was always boiled up, so it was always very unappealing to me. And I still don't love raw cabbage in big amounts, but like little slivers like this, or I'm starting to use it in some coleslaws, I'm okay with it, right? And I think that's how we come to like vegetables, is sometimes use them in smaller amounts, incorporate them in smaller doses in a meal, and in ways that then we know we can sort of accept it. You know, like if you're not a big broccoli lover, then perhaps you have just a little bit in a stir fry. Like this recipe actually calls for broccoli. All right, that veg is coming together so nice. I'm just going to show it to you. See that? Okay. Can you see that? There we go. I don't know. I'm not doing so good with the camera here, but it's just me, guys. Yeah, see that? So the veggies have softened down. I'm going to actually turn this down to low now, and I'm going to add the rice. I think there's a lot of questions coming in, so I will check those after. I'm going to probably have to check them after, guys. So I'm just going to add the rice. I'm just going to scoop it out and add it. Like, I'm not measuring it. I'm going to bring this over here so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So this is the blend of jasmine and brown rice, and look how nice it is. Can you see that? It's fluffy. It's a bit of both in there. Yeah. And I'm just going to add that in. It's nothing special. I don't even sprinkle it. Usually I do this, so that's what I'm going to do. Take it. Whoa, see how clean I am in the kitchen? There's rice going on the floor. There. And I'm just going to stir that through and see if I want any more. Sometimes I do, you know, once I get a feel for how much veg is in there. I like a lot of veg in there. Yeah, I'm not going to add too much more, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to tell you what you guys can do for leftovers with this rice as well, give you some other ideas. So now I would add the cabbage and the green onions and work it through. And I also usually add either vegan Worcester sauce here or some tamari. And I'm just going to add tamari, and not too much, just a little for flavor. And what you can do is add a little bit so that it's through all of the rice, and then add a little bit more at the table to taste by, you know, per person, right? So everyone takes their serving, and if they want a little more tamari, and I'm telling you, my family, they always do, they can add it. But you could also use like a little drizzle of sweet chili sauce. You could add some sriracha at the table. Any of those things would be great. And vegan Worcester sauce just adds a little bit more depth of flavor, kind of less traditional in a way, but it does add quite nice flavor. So I'm going to stir that through, and then I'm going to warm it over a low heat. And if it's sticking, just add a tiny drop of water and keep stirring. But see how pretty that is already? Look at that. Isn't that nice? So I'm just going to warm it through while I do one other thing and chat. I actually want a little more cabbage in there. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more. Get the outer edge. That's really nice and thin. It's really, really sort of delicate on the outer edges. Yeah, it took me a long time to like cabbage. And I have a nice coleslaw recipe in the book too, in Dreena's Kind Kitchen. It's a rainbow slaw, and I use red cabbage in that too, and that's really nice. But if you add it too early, the color will go through the rice, which is fine. You know, no big deal if it does. Like I say, Martha is not coming to dinner, so if it happens, no big deal. It might be kind of cool. Like maybe your kids would love to have rice that's kind of purpley. Just get into the compost here. And so then usually when I make a rice dish like this, I will serve it with some tofu. Kids love tofu. Sometimes I bake up some pot stickers, like we'll buy some veggie pot stickers and I'll bake those up and have that as well. What I do is I make a lot of stir fry and tofu and pot stickers. And then there's extras, there's leftovers. And that way the kids can pull on the leftovers for lunches, which they do, especially Bridget going to school. And I do have some really nice broccoli that I got at the store yesterday. So I'm planning to steam that and just toss it with a teriyaki sauce that I have. But I just kind of want extra veg on the side, because I like to have extra veg on the side. And for me, that's not really enough veggies in dinner. And if we're not having a salad, then I want to add a little more green. So I'll add some broccoli. But sometimes what I've done is, instead of adding a side veg like that, I'll chop up some spinach really finely, just like I did with the cabbage, and stir that in right before serving. Again, right before serving, because spinach will wilt in about 30 seconds. You're done. You don't need to cook it. Don't cook up the spinach. Just warm it through and then serve it. I've also added kale, but I'll cook it a little bit longer. Like I'll warm it through for a couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm going to show you the tofu, which I have done this on my YouTube channel before. You can see the other video. It's one of my easiest hacks for tofu. And I do this one. There's a recipe in not Dreena's Kind Kitchen, in Plant Powered Families, called Simplest Marinated Tofu. And basically that's what I'm doing, except I'm not using a baking dish and I'm not measuring. All right, so I'm just cutting it up into cubes. And I know not everyone wants to eat tofu. That's fine. You don't have to pair tofu with this dish. It's perfectly fine just as it is. But you could also add diced, like I said, diced cooked potato or sweet potato right at the end. You could add some beans, some green peas would be delicious in there. I'm just not eating green peas because I have this pea protein sensitivity, which is a royal pain in the butt. And so I'm not eating it. But I used to add green peas quite a lot to my stir fries. You could add chickpeas. Green chickpeas are amazing, delicious. I have them in the freezer there now, and I would easily add those. I often add those. And yeah, so there's lots you could add. Oh, and also for color, you could do red bell pepper. I would add that about the same time that I added the zucchini, because it's not as hard a veggie as a carrot. So you could add red bell pepper. You could add, other color bell peppers, yellow, orange. I'm not a huge fan of green bell peppers, but of course you could. You could add some Asian greens like bok choy, sweet choy, all kinds of things like that. So there's my tofu. And all I'm doing is I'm going to add some seasoning, and I'm going to pop it in the toaster oven. I use the Breville Smart Oven. Love it. Super handy for baking amounts like this. And what I'm using today is, I got this one at Trader Joe's before the border closed up. We had about 2 weeks. I just got to talk about this for a second. We had about 2 weeks where we could go over the border, and it was so much fun. So I went to Trader Joe's one day, and I just packed up the car. I literally packed up the trunk, full stuff in the back seat, about $400 from Trader Joe's. Got as much as I could, although I couldn't get frozen artichokes. And that's one of the reasons I went there. I got one bag, and I would have come home with like about half dozen at least. But I got this. It's organic smoky barbecue coconut aminos. And it has a nice flavor. It's kind of sweet, a little smoky, not overpowering in the smoky flavor, which I find some smoky things are. So I'm going to add that. That's going to sort of be my sub for tamari. And you see, I am not even tossing the tofu through. This is quick and fast. That's it. And I'm going to add a little balsamic vinegar, because I like a hint like acid in the tofu as well. So sometimes I use lemon juice. Sometimes I use apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar. The kids, ooh, whoa. So that was, see that? The top popped right off the vinegar. That's more balsamic vinegar than I need. But you know what, guys? I'm just going to roll with it. I'm not going to pour it off because I'm then going to be pouring off some of the tamari or the aminos. So, oh well, I'll have to wash the baking sheet later because it just got a good dose of balsamic. But that's the tofu. Boom, done. It goes into the oven at about, I don't have the oven preheated, but that's no big deal. I'm just going to put it in there. It's on. Usually I go about 400 degrees for about 15, 20 minutes. A little higher, you can cook quicker, like 450, 10, 15 minutes. Boom, done. Oh, stir fry. All right, let's have one more look at the stir fry. Camera's too low. You're actually seeing the mouse, the tracking pad on my computer. I'm so good at that, right? But look at this. This is beautiful. I love, and oh, I was going to give you some ideas for serving up. And just have another look at this first. Isn't that pretty? My lights overhead are kind of interfering with the color that you see, which is unfortunate. But it's got lots of color. It smells amazing. The onion smell has really come through. And you can smell the tamari in there. I'm going to warm it a little bit more at dinner tonight because it's only lunch hour here. So what I'm going to do is just set it off the heat. And I often do this as well. So if you want to prep this ahead, this is your tip. Prep it to this point, get it off the heat, and then just gently reheat it for about 5 minutes at dinner hour, okay, right before serving, so that, you know, your cabbage doesn't cook down too much and it still stays just a touch more vibrant, right? Okay, so I'm going to pop that back on the back burner there. And I've got the tofu done. I'm going to do the broccoli. And I think I might throw in some pot stickers. Paul really likes pot stickers. I'll probably throw those in. Sometimes I do Gardein Mandarin chicken for Hope with this because she just loves that stuff. And yeah, that's dinner. And I do this probably once a week. This is one of my go-to rotations. And I often do it with quinoa instead of rice. It's fast. It's simple. Use what veg you have on hand. And then leftovers, you can reheat leftovers. You can add that stir fry to a Buddha bowl, top it over greens, add a good dressing. It's making me think of the dressings. Here's one of the dressings you would love on that Buddha bowl. Is if you haven't tried the ninja dressing would be good if you love sort of ginger and turmeric and those flavors. Try the ninja dressing. Otherwise, the Buddha dressing or the curry dressing in the book would be amazing on that Buddha bowl. You could also add it to wraps. I do that often. So the leftovers go into a wrap. You can use a nut cheese on the tortilla. Add some chickpeas, add some any kind of bean if you want. Use leftover tofu, chop up fresh veg with it. I do wraps a lot for Paul. He really likes them. I like a Buddha bowl. He likes wraps. So usually I'll use those leftovers, add some fresh veg with it, like cucumber, red pepper, tomatoes, wrap it up. Boom, lunch done, right? So you can repurpose those leftovers. So I always make enough that I do have leftovers that I can use in my lunches. In Hope's lunch for school, Bridget can put it in her lunch. She'll usually add it with tofu. She might put some like nooch sprinkle on it. They love nooch. So even though those flavors don't really go together for me, they don't care. They don't care. I remember once I brought nooch to the table and Hope says, "You can never go wrong with nooch." I'm like, no, girl. Anyways, that's another story. I did not like nutritional yeast for the first 10 years of being vegan. Didn't like it at all, but now I do. So that's it. That's the dish. I hope you try it. I hope you love it. Again, the recipe is in Dreena's Kind Kitchen, but you now saw how it was made. You see how easy it is. You can use this as a template and then do your own thing, right? Here's the recipe in the book is quinoa lentil stir fry, which I didn't use quinoa or lentils today, right? So just play up on what you have at home. And the other thing I'll mention is I wanted to do this thing in the new year where I'm showcasing some of the recipes from Dreena's Kind Kitchen and asking you guys which one appeals to you most. And over the course of a couple of weeks, I'm going to, whichever recipe gets the most like engagement on social media, I'm going to choose that one to blog. So this week I showed a few from Dreena's Kind Kitchen. It was the cheesecake that has no dairy, obviously, no vegan cream cheeses, no nuts, no oil. It's called my mythical cheesecake, so that one's up. And my weekend pad thai. I can't remember the other one I posted, honestly. It's like last week sometime. So if you're following me on social, check in on my pages, because you know how those algorithms are. Either you see someone's stuff all the time or you barely ever see them. So search up my page and give it a like, and then maybe like a couple of posts, comment, and that way you'll see these posts come through, okay? And then you can give them a vote, thumbs up, a heart on Instagram, and let me know which ones you want to see on the blog. And I think that's it. Other than the Simply Plants ebook is also out. If you want information on that, just go to my last YouTube post, because I don't think I put the link in the description, but I did put the link to my newsletter. And if you sign up to my newsletter, you'll get information on that all the time anyhow, any new happenings, okay? So that's it. I will follow up on the questions later because there are a lot, and yeah, I'll wrap it up here. Okay, have a really nice evening, morning, wherever you are. Thanks for joining and allowing me to dress up a little bit for you today. The grocery store gets it next. Yeah. Okay, see you guys. Have a great one. Blessings to you all. Bye.